Let's fact check that now. Let's fact check that now. You don't just get to say it and then move on. Dude, I feel a deep rage bubbling. I don't have stats. I don't have any actual evidence. It's common sense. Dude, don't you think, dude, rapeseed oil's got a pretty scary name, don't you think? Like, that implies some pretty troubling things. I don't know about this rapeseed oil stuff, guys. That might be a threat to society. You're like, this isn't even worth engaging with. You know, do you genuinely believe you're like making good arguments here? Christian violent? That's misinterpreting the Bible. Muslim violent? Oh, they interpret it correctly. All right, so Lonerbox versus MisfitPatriot on immigration. Let's take a look. Let's see.
View from it versus Lonerbox, who actually does live there. So I'm interested to hear him.
Oh, so it's about UK immigration specifically too. Wow. Wow, awesome stuff. Great to see MisfitPatriot, another American with such strong feelings about UK immigration. Thank you, Scallywag, for the game over super sticker. Huge appreciated.
You know, sort of explain his position, because as far as you know, my position, which is the position of many people in America, is we see the UK as sort of a cautionary tale of what we shouldn't be doing as far as allowing in migration, because we hear about all of the statistics and crime and what have you. I'm going to go over a few of them that that I looked up here. We got foreign nationals in the UK make up 12% of the population and represent about 12 to 13% of the prison population. So some might make the argument, well, that means that that's equally represented for population versus prisoners, but that's 12 to 13% of convictions and prisoners that wouldn't be there if they had a tougher immigration policy. And I think that the comparison that we should probably at least entertain is between Poland and the UK. You have foreign nationals in Poland's prisons is 2 to 3%. So I think that that's pretty much where you can have, you know, the argument be made that less immigration equals less crime equals less prisoners, what have you. So as far as the immigration being a threat to the UK, I don't think it's about whether or not it is or isn't. It is. It's statistically just a fact based on.
Voice crack. Did the haircut for 13-year-olds also reset puberty? That's
nice
rough.
one. Thank you for the $3.
Video game T-shirt to complete the look, though.
Thank you for the $3.
Off of that, but types of crimes that are going on in the UK, and I can't say definitively if this has contributed 100% to the immigration, but I think common sense and critical thinking would tell you that it's definitely part of it. The rape statistics are up 452% since 2002. Now, they claim that this is because of better reporting, but that's a huge increase, and I don't think...
Yeah, that is a huge... Dude, he's saying, they claim it's because of better reporting. Yeah, that's why it's such a huge increase, dude. That wouldn't be, like... You really think that rape was, like, 3 times less common or some shit, like 20 years ago? You really think that was the case? What a delusional thing to believe. Like, you would have to be so fucking insanely misled to think it was, like, way less common, like, 20 years ago.
I think that the amount of accuracy in reporting would bring it up that much. 6.6 million, it says here. And in Poland, 800 to 900,000. Sorry, this is a homicide rate. Don't want to get the wrong statistics here. But either way, what I'm trying to say is, when you have a area in that region that has a tougher immigration policy, statistically, all of their numbers are lower.
Can't make it so it looks like you're in the debate.
If that's the case, then I would like to hear the argument as to how it's even an argument that it does not pose a threat. I think that the argument that Lonerbox might try to make is it doesn't pose that big of a threat, or try to excuse the threat, or maybe explain away the threat. But statistically, the threat's there, and I think that this debate is pretty much won already. But let's go and hear what he has to say.
Thank you, Zach. And Lonerbox, to you, please.
I probably don't need to do much of a
MisfitPatriot was born a woman. Yep.
Statement. If we're going to talk about, like, if there are just any issues at all with having immigrants in the country, and you want to call that a one debate, that's fine. I think I'd rather have a more slightly.
So yeah, like, well, did you know there's a problem having white people in your country? Because fuck it, you know, if you got rid of all white people, that would be a lot of the prison population gone. Like, obviously, you have to have something more than that, right? You have to have something more than that. At least disproportionality, which he already conceded he didn't have. He didn't have disproportionate crime.
nuanced conversation, then the truth is that immigration does bring some challenges to the country. The question is whether or not those challenges outweigh the issues that come with not having immigration in a country. It seems to be that Western liberal democracies that have growing capitalist economies almost always decide that they would like some level of immigration. It just depends on how much and in which areas. Poland might have different crime rates compared to the UK, but you can also look at, say, some Baltic states, which have higher murder rates than the UK, despite having lower immigration. I think if you're going to use the American example, America's homicide rate is way higher than the UK's. So trying to take immigration and use it as the cause factor of any particular social issue is kind of problematic. We can go into the sexual violence and the back and forth if you want. The fact is that we are a growing economy, we are an aging population, and the overwhelming consensus economically is that we need immigrants who are generally younger to contribute to keeping things in our system that we want to keep. Most British people like having a national health service. Most British people like having a reasonable welfare state and a minimum wage, everything like that. And we also like being in a growing economy and an economy that has a higher standard of living.
I'm sure MisfitPatriot over here is going to have a very compelling rebuttal to this. Yeah, but like crime law? Yeah, but like crime law?
In Poland or anywhere else in Eastern Europe that has low immigration, and
they'd be
one of
like
the ways
raping
that we seem
kids,
to get
no?
that is from immigration. So, as far as if you want to talk about challenges, it just depends on the difference between not doing it. And I don't think the argument for stopping immigration has ever been particularly strong.
Perfect. Thank you, Lonerbox. And as a kind reminder to the audience, given the fact that this is a nooner debate, we will not be opening the panel this afternoon. However, we will get through our debate, move into closing statements, and then we will read and respond to your kind super chats. Gentlemen, I leave the floor open to you.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm not going to, play like a gotcha moment debate me bro thing where you kind of have conceded that you've...
What has he conceded? That there are challenges with immigration? That means that immigration is destroying the country because there are challenges with it? Does that mean that, like, because there are challenges with fishing, is fishing destroying the country? Like, what a fucking stupid thing to say.
Already given up the prompt, right? I mean, I've done this before where they claim the same thing for me. We can't have a...
Does immigration pose a threat to the UK? Saying there are challenges doesn't mean it poses a threat. It's like saying, like I said, it's like saying fishing poses a threat. There are challenges with fishing. It doesn't mean it poses a threat to the UK. There are challenges with the mass availability of cars. That doesn't mean it's a threat to the UK. There's problems with, like we can go down a huge list of things that have challenges and problems, but aren't a threat to the UK.
Conversation. But the fact of the matter is, the prompt is whether or not immigration poses a threat, and we're both in agreement that it does. So you're saying that the cost benefit versus not having immigration would be worse, and I don't think you've presented an argument as to why. But let me give you one argument that...
Yes, he has. You're just a fucking retard. Yes, he has. You're just a fucking retard. He said that capitalist economies, capitalist liberal economies with aging populations require immigration because they need young people to fill out the tax base. Incredibly fucking simple.
Nothing to do with crime statistics and the actual measurable threat, which is the threat of multiculturalism. Right? I think that the Muslim population rising in the UK. Don't have the statistic right. I have it here, but I'm not going to look it up. But it was somewhere around 40%, I think, over the past.
No, literally no anti-immigration retard will ever contend with that. By the way.
And with that, you're having a lot of.
It's Nick's music fucking idiot in chat will never contend with that. In the UK, any meaningful way.
Explain how that's causing a degradation of society. Tommy Robinson talks about this a lot.
Wow, yeah, smart guy, smart fella.
The UK is being taken over by Muslims, and I don't know where you line up on this, but I have been saying for a very long time, Islam is not compatible with Western values. Just based off of the sheer number of Muslims in the world, if only 10% of them are Sharia practicing, you have hundreds of millions of people that just do not line up with Western values.
What's Sharia?
So
what's Sharia? Define Sharia. What is Sharia? Tell me what Sharia is now.
Change it fundamentally is going to create a clash between the people that have already been
there.
Tell
me what Sharia is now.
This new culture that is not lined up with their ideology.
So just to correct one thing that you said earlier when you were talking about crime, because I didn't think you wanted to stay on crime for too long, but just to get one thing clear about crime, you mentioned sexual violence and sexual violence going up in the last 20 years. Do I need to show you, or would you accept that according to every government statistics database that we have, that Muslim populations seem to be about proportionally represented for those crimes? They don't seem to commit it any more than locals do.
Well, that's the point. You're increasing the amount. I mean, the total rape statistics in the UK rose from 16,000 in 2012 to 68,000 in March of 2024. They've increased 5% year by year, and 400 252% since 2002. So if you're saying when you add in Muslims and the crime rate only goes up in proportionality to the amount of Muslims that come there, that's not an excuse. It's not saying like, oh well, they're not doing
an
more
excuse.
than
What
other
does that
people.
even
You're
mean, retard? What does it even mean, retard?
increasing the amount of rapists that you're bringing into the country.
Well, it's just that people like Tommy Robinson would say that they actually do commit a disproportionate amount of it, like they commit most of it. So
Well,
if we're okay on that, then that's fine.
There's an argument.
Raw numbers if you want.
There's an argument to be made I think that's only like 2% of reported rapes are actually tried and convicted, and because of the culture of the UK, let me try to frame this nicely, where they are they're very weary of Islamophobia. One could make the argument that
literally, sir, no, you couldn't make this argument. Actually, no, you would actually have a very tough time making this argument because it's not supported by any evidence. The only thing you can point to is a single quote from a police officer as part of an inquiry years ago into grooming gangs, where they said they felt they feared inflaming community tensions and causing feelings or allegations of racism by investigating a specific case 20 fucking years ago. What you cannot find, and part of the issue is that there is widespread lack of reporting on ethnicity as well. For a long time, police didn't report the ethnicity for crimes properly. It just wasn't marked down a lot of the time, and that's many times in cases where people are white because they just don't see a reason to mark down the ethnicity. So there is a widespread issue of lack of reporting ethnicity. So we can't necessarily get perfect statistics in terms of which ethnicities are committing which crimes. But you will not find any evidence to support the idea that stuff hasn't been investigated or hasn't been convicted because, well, you can't do that because it's racist. You will not find that. You will not find that.
These cases are not being taken seriously because they don't want to be labeled as Islamophobic or targeting the brown population. So, I mean, I don't know if that's true, but I think that it's definitely an argument that people can make.
So are you trying to suggest that the per capita rape from Muslims is actually high?
But I'm sure, I am certain, Lonerbox has some of the best videos on YouTube about the grooming gang stuff. I'm certain Lonerbox is going to just, he's got this, surely, right? Surely.
Higher, but it just doesn't get reported?
It's a possibility, yeah.
You have any evidence for that?
That's why I said it's just a theory. It's not, no. I don't have the evidence of that. I'm saying you can make the argument that because of the culture in the UK, where they're so terrified of being labeled Islamophobic, right? They have, hate speech laws, or if you even call out a Muslim, there's one case where a woman was raped by a Muslim, reported it, and said some mean things about the Muslim online, and got a heavier sentence than the guy who allegedly raped her. So
you're gonna need to show me that story if you're gonna.
I'd have to look it up. But and if I have that incorrect, you can fact check me later. But that's a story that I heard of. And what I'm saying is using common sense.
No, don't just no. Let's fact check that now. Let's fact check that now. FTM Patriot, tell us that story now. You don't just get to say it and then move on.
A very an aversion to Islamophobia, where they're terrified of being labeled Islamophobic. If you were to say like, okay, there's a possibility that some of the cases being reported are being dismissed because of that, I think it would be a good argument. But no, I can't quantify that. I can't measure that.
Yeah, well, just to clarify, there's no evidence that Islamophobia hinders people from reporting crimes. There has been cases way back like 10, 20 years ago with places like Rotherham and Rochdale where a couple of cops excused themselves by saying that political correctness was...
Yes. I probably heard this from a Lonerbox video, to be honest. I probably know this from a Lonerbox video. That it was like, it's like one or two police officers that were interviewed about why they didn't carry on with charges or some shit as part of a report 20 years ago. And it's like they said, oh, well, I was worried about being racist. It's like a much more widespread issue is these police are literally blaming the teenage girls that were getting raped. That's far more widespread and explanatory. But hey, yeah, let's just take their word for it and assume it's because, everything's just so politically correct now.
Holding them back, even though their colleagues would often say otherwise. And another problem with the police more generally was that they were neglecting all sexual abuse victims in those communities way back to the 60s, even before there were any Muslims in these towns.
Just spitting.
I'm failing to understand how in a country where prevent strategy was a thing, where we actually included policies that specifically targeted Muslims for counterterrorism investigations, and in a country where the arrest rate and stop and search rate for Black people is much higher than it is for any other ethnic group in the country, I'm just wondering why it's even a theory that cops are being shackled by political correctness.
Well, I think that it's a theory because of there's a cultural issue that we in America think that is going on over there. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but they're opening up Sharia courts. You have more Muslims.
Be legit, dude. Ah, they're opening up Sharia courts. They're opening up Sharia courts. It's actually like the most baseline, retarded, easily debunked talking points you've ever heard. So the Sharia courts thing are family, like, dispute consultancy, basically. No Sharia court, quote-unquote Sharia court, can in any way overrule or anything any British court. British law is supreme. None of it actually matters. Any British law completely supersedes it, and it's totally irrelevant. They're just, like, family dispute. Fucking discussion, like, arbitration services. That's it.
Coming into your, it's Parliament, and I think the mayor, is it the mayor of London? Am I correct in saying he's Muslim? I'm just saying when you have this cultural shift, right, where it's not about whether or not the women that might be reporting a rape from a Muslim are not doing that. They're not reporting it, because I'm saying that there is a possibility that, you know, maybe people are, when you have a rape case, it's pretty much a lot of the times he said, she said, and some people might be taking the he said argument.
So Sharia courts and the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, which cultural has Sadiq Khan done anything as mayor to make the place more culturally Muslim, or has he done any kind of policies that are?
How many Sharia courts have opened up in London?
There are 0 Sharia courts. There are Sharia councils for marriages that are opted into voluntary by adult men and women.
Okay, so Sharia councils are in the UK, and do you understand what Sharia law is? Yeah.
Dude, I feel a deep rage bubbling. A deep, deep rage hearing that condescending fucking bitchy tone from this fucking woman. Going, you do know what Sharia court is, right? From this fucking female. I just can't, man. I fucking can't, dude.
I don't think you do if you're acting like that's a big problem. What do you think
Sharia,
do?
So the imposition of Sharia law in a Western civilization is not a problem.
Depends on what you mean by Sharia law. What do these councils do, I'm asking you?
Well, I mean, the practice of Sharia law, it views women as second-class citizens.
No idea.
It has the ideology of these Islamic practices that are essentially widely barbaric. You know, there's...
So, okay, so you go to the church and you ask the fucking, whatever it is, reverend or whatever the fuck, you say, oh yeah, should my wife be subservient to me? And he says, yeah, generally. Is that a problem? Is that a problem? Obviously not. You'd have no issue with that. You'd think, well, no, that's just Christian culture. That's American.
Just the entertainment of it, right? Sharia council in a Western civilization, you don't see a problem with that.
Well, that's why I'm asking you what these councils do, because obviously treating women as a second class citizen.
Well, I'm looking for religious guidance, so you just go into Tactical Templars YouTube chat and ask him there.
I think that's illegal. You can't do that in this country. That's against the Equalities Act.
Also, such compelling and deep, you know, questions of faith, such as, can men get pregnant? If men can't get pregnant, why is there a pregnant man emoji on Google services?
Barbaric practices. I mean, are they stoning people to death? That's illegal as well.
They do that.
What do these councils do?
In Sharia practicing nations, they still, in 2025, stone women to death. Yes.
Yeah, some of them do.
Yeah,
does the UK,
exactly.
do these councils in the UK do that?
My entire argument is some of them do it, and you're bringing that culture into your society and saying, well, we're going to be different. Like, no, it's going to be, no matter whether or not you bring in 1%, 5%, or 10%, you're bringing that in and thinking, oh, what could possibly go wrong here?
There are Christian.
Yeah, so what's going wrong? FDM?
Countries that where it's illegal and punishable by death to be gay, but regardless of that, Sharia courts, Sharia councils, what did they do? I'm asking you for the third time now. What did the Sharia councils in the UK do?
I don't know. Like I said in my opening.
There we go. I don't know. I'm just mad about it. I've got no idea.
No,
so why are you bringing up appealing to the umbrella term?
I'm talking about Sharia. There's the practice of Sharia law. If there's a Sharia council, we can assume that the people on the Sharia council practice Sharia law. Yes.
What does that mean?
What is Sharia law to you? What does that mean?
Do you want me to look it up? Like, I mean, Sharia law is just pretty much well known by most people.
He just has no idea. It's just pretty much well known by most people. I have a general vague idea, which means that I can use these terms to describe how society is going to collapse. You're a fucking idiot, bro. You're such a fucking idiot.
Practice of Islamic law, right? Islamic law and doctrine supersedes the doctrine of the laws of the land. That's
So
Sharia
if a
law.
Muslim comes to you and tells you that I practice Sharia law, I have to assume that they are doing every single law in the Quran. Do I have to assume that?
That's what it means. Yeah, that's what Sharia law means.
Is that what most Muslims are doing? Then, when a Muslim tells you that they practice Sharia law, they
We're
are
not talking
following
about
every
most.
single thing in the Quran.
We're talking about not talking about most. Most Muslims ignore the doctrine of the Sharia law, but they don't call themselves Sharia practicing Muslims.
Yes, they do.
Not the ones
I can
that
find you
practice
about
Sharia
20
law.
in the next 2 hours. I can find you about hundreds by tomorrow afternoon of Muslims who say they practice Sharia law, but they don't stone people to death.
So you're saying that some places like what is it? It's Iraq, where you can have a child bride at like 9 years old, is a Sharia law practicing country. But then you have the Saudi Arabia, and they have a more loose interpretation of Sharia law. But in both countries, you can still be stoned to death for violating Sharia law. So what I'm saying is, you're having a legal framework for radical Islam, and you're saying as long as they ignore the radical parts of it, then we should accept it. I am arguing against that. I'm saying you just don't have Sharia at all.
The Sharia councils, just because you're not aware, the Sharia councils in the UK deal with marriage. That's all they deal with. They deal with marriage disputes, and they're opted into voluntarily by adult men and women. Now, if you want to argue that there are issues with it, because sometimes issues emerge in any marriage, then there are issues when it comes to how separated these systems are from the state. And the way that we solved this a long time ago with Jewish marriage, for example, was that we allowed and cooperated with these communities to allow their marriage systems to be incorporated into our law, so that they can still so that things can't go underground. That's really the issue with Sharia councils.
Under Sharia law,
there's no one getting stoned to death. There's no one
under Sharia law. Can a Muslim man rape his wife?
Is that what's happening in the UK?
I'm saying
by the law,
you
by
said
the
that
literal interpretation, I'm sure they could, but I mean, I don't know.
You said that the Sharia Council deals with marital issues. If one of the issues is a woman goes up to the Sharia Council and says,
"Oh, Christians suddenly caring about marital rape all of a sudden," it's like I'm getting fucking whiplash. I'm getting fucking whiplash. I can't deal with this after the last 2 weeks.
my husband raped me, they need to have multiple witnesses, and they need to practice the Sharia law for that marital dispute. They look at rape as a marital dispute, not a crime. So
are you telling me that there are women who get raped and they just don't want to go to the cops because of their? It's illegal to rape in the UK.
Yeah, look, so yes, correct. But do you understand that the rape statistics in like Saudi Arabia are extremely low because of the culture of Sharia law, where if a woman does report it, right, she has to pretty much have it on camera, and if she doesn't, then she won't be taken seriously because they view them as second-class citizens. So and part of their law, part of the doctrine is that a Muslim man cannot rape his wife. His wife is his property. He can rape her whenever he wants.
Well, it's a good thing the Muslims in the UK are ones who either they themselves or their parents or their grandparents came from a country where that was much more easy to do, and they came to a country where it was illegal to rape your spouse. So again, unless you can show me any evidence at all that there is some kind of permissibility of rape happening in the UK that's significantly different to Muslims than it is to locals, you can show me.
Well,
it doesn't bear out in the crime stats.
What's the point of the Sharia Council then?
The point of the Sharia Council is because Muslims, like Christians, are human beings. They adhere to some parts of their faith, literally, and other parts they don't. So there are Muslims in the UK who seem like they want to use Sharia councils for marriage. Some, not all of them do. Some of them do civil marriages. They go through Sharia councils for marriage disputes, but if they feel like a crime's been committed against them in a country where you cannot commit those crimes, where it's illegal to commit those crimes, then they've got legal options to that. They have legal avenues. And we have crisis centers, and we have women's groups, and we have the state funds a lot of these organizations to make sure there's outreach, even in Muslim communities. That's actually one of the outcomes of the scandals that we've had in the last few decades with the police. So I'm just wondering why you think the existence of people practicing their marriages differently is going to lead to us having, like, is going to lead on to the conclusion of what people getting stoned to death in the UK.
Well, I explained it to you. I said that if you have a Sharia council, then that would be based on Sharia law. And if it's based on Sharia law, then you just have to use common sense.
It's just common sense. It's just common sense. I don't have stats. I don't have any actual evidence. It's common sense. Can't you just kind of get the vibes? Can't you just get the vibes?
Critical thinking to say, why is this necessary? And if you don't see the problem, because you think that if a Sharia practicing Muslim household had a woman in it who was being raped and beaten by her husband, she would go to the proper, the proper police station, as opposed to the Sharia council, because it's a Sharia practicing household, right? So she would go to the Sharia council because in Sharia law, right, they don't care about the laws of the UK, of America, of anything.
Apparently they do, because most Muslims in the UK are law-abiding citizens. They commit about the same amount of crime proportionately as white people do. So using logic and critical thinking is, I would assume, if I'm talking about Sharia councils in the UK, of which there aren't many, to be clear, there are none in Scotland as well, despite us having Muslims here, I would look at those and I would see, what are they actually doing in those courts? If they're not doing an overall imposition of Sharia law, and they seem to just be dealing with marriage disputes. And they do communicate with the state as well, and people are allowed to go in there and interview people and ask questions about them. The scandals that come out of here are people sometimes in underground situations being like unfair when it comes to marriage disputes and things like that. And then again, that becomes a civil or a criminal issue. That's not. But the idea that there's like women getting raped and they're just allowed to by the Sharia Council, and there's no avenue to try and stop this legally, and they're living by their own laws, it's not borne out.
But the Sharia Council is a separate legal entity that is separated.
Not a legal entity. No, it's not a legal entity.
Well, it's under their practices, right? It's not the Sharia Council, right? You said they can be good interview.
It has no authority. It has zero real authority. It's like it's again, FTM-Patriot is one of the people I told Lonerbox about in one of our conversations. This guy would benefit from watching a Hassan stream and realizing that, you know, the way lefties see things, there is a little bit of value in, you know? The way these fucking insane commies see things, the idea that all political power comes at the barrel of a gun. You actually kind of need to consider that sometimes, because the Sharia courts have no guns. They have no power. They have no authority. They can't do shit. The only authority they have is the authority given to them by the people who voluntarily participate. And they can have arguments about culture and how people are indoctrinated into religions, and you can work the argument back a bit, and you can have conversation about that. That is a totally different conversation to the idea of these Sharia courts being this illegal entity.
And they can go in there and blah blah blah. All right, but the Sharia Council was created, like you said, for what, marital disputes? Is that it? That's the only thing that they deal with?
That's pretty much, yeah, that's the only thing they deal with.
Okay, so
maybe sometimes like with lending money, potentially.
Okay, so you have a council that's sitting in the UK, that council is created because a demographic of people that live in the UK.
Like, it's a court that tells you what you did wrong, but they've got no authority to collect money from you. They've got no authority or ability to collect money from you. They can't put you in prison. They can't stop you from doing literally anything. They can't impose any sanction like in any way. But it's a court. Great.
A separate council to deal with their own.
That's how we should run a criminal justice system. Actually, the Muslims got it right.
Law, because it's Sharia Council which practices Sharia law, right? It's outside of the Western law, with the UK law, the UK practices. They don't care about the law. They just care about Sharia law. That's what they're doing. That's why the council exists.
Then you would expect to see that borne out in their behavior, right? So show us the data. Like, it's that simple.
So they don't care about UK law, but the only thing that they practice is marriage.
All right, in Sharia law, if you're allowed to rape your wife, right, they will, because they practice Sharia law. They're not going to care about the law that says you can't rape your wife.
They will rape their wives because it's Sharia. Do you think every Muslim rapes their wife?
Did I say
I
that?
think every Muslim who says they adhere to Sharia law rapes their wife?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he basically did just say yes. He did basically just say that, yes. He said if they can, they will.
Did I say that? I said they can. I did not say they do. I said they can.
You said you didn't just say they can. You said if they can, they will.
Under Sharia law, it's part of their doctrine.
Do you have any argument about what's happening in these councils besides this might happen?
My argument is the fact that it's called a Sharia council. If it's called a Sharia council, it means it's under Sharia law. And anybody arguing for Sharia law in a Western civilization is completely ignorant to what Sharia law actually represents.
Okay, you can forgive me for being someone who cares about facts and data and information. Unless I can see actually any evidence of this happening, I'm just going to go with
here's
that's
your
probably
evidence.
Superseding the maybe.
Your evidence is in Iraq.
If I can jump in, I wonder if the question, I wonder if the question would actually be, could a religious entity offer a standpoint for people of that religion, right? Because I would compare this to Christianity, Catholicism.
Wow, look at this. Sarah the Raging Tomato fucking firing on all cylinders tonight, isn't she? Holy shit. This bitch is sharp.
Like, they all have their own councils too, right? So, but then Misfit, I believe you're going into it. Kind
thinking
of
cap on, clearly. This is a thinking cap.
Catholic doctrine. Every Catholic teaching, which would be something that you would get counseled on with your church or whatever. And we do have separation of like church and state, that just means no laws that would apply to the creation of a church, right? So you wouldn't be able to have a creation of a Sharia council here. You just have the churches, but there's no law in the Bible that says, well, you can rape your wife. right? So there's no
explicit law, but plenty of people interpret it that way.
issue of a Catholic going to a church for religious counsel, because nothing in there would be violating the law of the land, which is what Sharia is in conflict with. And like I was just saying, you said, do I have any evidence? Can you, right now, in Iraq, marry a 9-year-old? Yes, because it's a Sharia law practicing nation, right? It's more extreme than Saudi Arabia. It's more extreme than certain other ones, but it does exist because they are practicing the religious doctrine, the religious legal doctrine that they impose wherever they go. Is it all of them? No. Is it a percentage of them? Yes. What is that percentage? I don't know. But even if it's a small percentage, that's too many.
So just to be clear, we don't have any evidence of this actually happening. It's just that it might do because it happens in Iraq.
Because you can't do it in the UK, though, can you? FTM Patriot.
I don't know what to say.
The argument of no evidence. I love this argument. It's just like freaking COVID.
It probably is, bro. Yes, you need evidence for your claim. Yes. You are claiming something. For that, you should have some supporting evidence to show that it's true. I love this evidence argument. I love this evidence shit. Oh, the per capita argument again. It's like that tier of fucking... I can't do it,
What is that percentage? I don't know. But even if it's a small percentage, that's too many.
So just to be clear, we don't have any evidence of this actually happening. It's just that it might do because it happens in Iraq. I don't know what to say.
The argument of no evidence. I love this argument. It's just like freaking COVID. It's like, oh, no evidence, no evidence. I'm giving you the evidence. I'm giving you the evidence. I'm saying Sharia law exists. We can all agree on that. That's the evidence. In Sharia law, you can rape your wife. You can marry a 9-year-old. That's the evidence. This is not contested. That's my evidence.
So then show it happening. So then, okay, you're saying that's written down. So show it happening in the UK because that's what you're claiming.
What you want is you want me to give you a specific like case that I can pull up where I don't need to. I just answered your question.
No, we don't just want a case. No one wants a case. No one wants an anecdote. They want data. They want evidence, dude. Come on. Like...
Question. Yes, the evidence is Sharia law does not align with any Western value system or any legal framework in any Western nation. And you're admitting that they have Sharia councils in the UK which would follow Sharia law. It's crazy that we're even getting into this.
Crazy that you introduced this topic and you didn't even know what the Sharia councils in the UK did. You just said the word Sharia like it was a buzz term. If you think they don't care about British law, by the way, why is it that the majority of sheikhs in these Sharia courts in these councils are actually willing to...
This guy got to be one of the dumbest motherfuckers online.
Under in conjunction with British law in the Marriage Act. Why do they want to do that?
What? I'm sorry. When did they do this?
In the same way that Jewish people in the UK, that Jewish marriage is recognized by the state. So that means that the Jewish councils, the state basically cooperates with the Jewish councils to set a nationwide standard.
He's just like a lazy fucking retard, isn't he? He's just like a total lazy fucking retard. Didn't this guy beat the fuck out of an old guy as well? Didn't you like beat the fuck out of an old guy and then post picture of his naked bare ass on fucking Twitter? Wasn't he like getting fucking drunk and posting like videos of his bare ass on Twitter after he beat the fuck out of an old guy and had to go to court for it? And drink driving. Someone sent me the fucking traffic stop. Someone sent me the video of FTM Patriot having to do a field sobriety test outside his car when he got pulled over for drink driving. Someone send me that video, please.
Marriage and marriage disputes and how marriages are conducted, then Muslims want the same thing. So they want to come within the reason that they operate the way they do now in the more underground way is because Islamic marriage is not recognized, whereas Jewish is. But they want to come into cooperation with the state. That's what they're campaigning for. Most of them want that. So if they don't care about British law, why are they literally trying to bring themselves closer to British law? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You don't know what you're talking about.
No,
these councils.
No, it's not a secret that that Islamic Muslim communities want to integrate into the political system of the places that they're occupying. That's kind of that's been done here. It's been done in the UK. It's done everywhere they go. What I'm saying is that their religious beliefs do not align with Western values.
Okay, so they didn't quite get there.
Right?
But you're aware that if they did integrate their marriages within the Marriage Act in the UK, that means it would be easier for Muslim women to get a divorce than it would be in the underground system, right?
Or they could essentially make it more. They could bring it closer, the entire system closer to their practices, right?
How?
So because under Sharia law, right, there are practices where they will want the rest of the country to be more.
How do they get that?
Like child brides.
So if they get their marriages if they get their marriages recognized by the state, and that means it's easier for women to seek out divorces through the civil courts, then that's going to lead to them trying to get stoning
Well,
legalized.
didn't you, no. Didn't you say? Well, didn't you say that they were already under that? Like they're separated from the law currently. The Sharia courts are essentially just for the religious practices only. They don't apply to the actual law under the UK, right?
I can read off because quick overview. Sharia councils in the UK provide advisory and non-binding rulings on civil matters such as divorce, marriage, and inheritance from an Islamic perspective. They are not formal courts, and their decisions have no legal standing under UK law. Instead, they serve as voluntary forums for Muslims to seek advice and resolutions they align with their faith. It does say that they are provided as a guidance council to the UK government. That was a piece of it, but everything else is just dealing with stuff on the home front and offering guidance.
Yeah. So my point is, if they want to get integrated into the law in the UK, that would be bringing the law in the UK. They would want to bring the law that's in the UK closer to their values. And you're arguing that that would mean that it would go in the opposite direction.
Dude, like, what is he even trying to say, dude? What? I don't even know what he's trying to say at this point.
Right?
How is the UK recognizing those marriages? How is that bring the UK law closer to theirs? If it means that basically UK law gets to supersede the Sharia law in these marriages, right? Because if their marriage is recognized by the state, then when a woman is trying to leave that relationship, she can either go to the Sharia court or to the civil court, and the civil court will obviously more likely side with her, and it overrules the Sharia court. And they have to, it's binding, it's legally binding, they have to. Like, it's just baffling, man.
Recognize Jewish marriage as a minority? Is Israel closer to Islamic values because they recognize marriages that are conducted by sheikhs in the Arab villages?
I'm not understanding that comparison.
They want their marriages to be recognized so that it's just easier for them to have the process happening through the state in a uniform way. That's not going to bring us closer to Islamic values. It's like non-Muslims are going to decide to get Muslim marriages.
So are you saying that you can't get married? You can't have that marriage now in the UK?
They can, but it's not recognized by the state. So it would be like if we had some random cult that wants to get married in a way that the state doesn't really acknowledge. So then they just go and they just find a random hilltop and do it and have their own little system.
Okay, and what kind of marriage is not recognized that they want to be recognized?
They want to, so most of them seem to be okay with the idea of bringing Islamic marriage into the same status as Jewish marriage in the UK.
Okay,
like it's recognized by the Marriage Act.
And
just recognized.
Where does that divert from current current UK marriage law? Like, what is the difference? What's the difference between their version of marriage and the one that they want?
Because their marriage isn't recognized by the state, so it would be
what kind of marriage?
Their Islamic marriage. What do you mean?
So like if they can't get married in a mosque and have it recognized by the UK.
My understanding right now is that Islamic marriage is not part of it's not integrated into the Marriage Act the same way that Jewish marriage is.
I don't understand. I don't know that. So if that's true, yay UK. But I don't understand what the difference would be between going into a mosque and getting married to consenting adults, not like a underage girl or anything like that. How that would not be recognized by the UK.
Quick pull up here. An Islamic marriage ceremony, or nikah, I might say that name wrong, is not legally recognized under UK law unless the couple also has a separate civil ceremony. The UK's Marriage Act of 1949 does not include Islamic marriages, meaning that without a civil ceremony, couples are not legally married and do not have legal rights and protections of marriage, such as financial, so on and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, and I would wonder what their argument is for that, right? I mean, is it potentially, I don't know this, I'm just asking, but is it potentially because of under Sharia law, sometimes they view marrying, 15-year-olds as part of their doctrine, their religious doctrine?
You're saying that's why it's not recognized?
I'm asking if it is.
No, why if that were the case?
What is this stupid shit, man? Dog shit, bro. Holy fuck.
Why would most of the sheikhs in these councils actually want to integrate into the Marriage Act? Because if they get integrated within the Marriage Act, there is no way that it's going to recognize any marriages under the legal age, which I think is 16 in the UK.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I don't know.
They want that, as in they want.
It seems like neither of us know why. Neither of us know why.
I'm wondering. I think it's just because they're not holding like a specific ceremony and applying at the registry. So I feel like this could be resolved if they just. A civil ceremony must be performed at a registry office or a religious building licensed for civil marriages. So what
would be the big deal with just what would be the big deal with just going and registering and doing it the way that's part of the process of the country that you're in? Why do they need their own, or why do they need to get integrated in? I don't understand. So I don't think you know the answer either, because otherwise you would have told me. But I guess we could find out why.
It's because people don't want to get two marriages. It's because they don't want to get married twice.
Yeah, I know, but if I
rather
go,
their marriage was already recognized, and probably because it's an equality thing, because Jews get their marriages recognized in the UK.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's weird how it's like there's a separate Muslim marriage that they don't want to. They don't want to just go to the courthouse and get the paperwork and then do their Muslim ceremony. I don't know.
Probably because married couples tend to get different protections from or benefits from the state as well. Like I think it's easier to get like child support and things like that potentially, or NHS things would be contingent on marriage in some ways.
Sure.
In any case, it's also the fact that, and again, some sheikhs will say this, is that they want it to be like a uniform system, which would help them as well.
Well, they already have a uniform system.
Streamlined.
You just get married under the law of the land that you're in. You know,
Well,
it's like that's kind of what,
I mean,
what you do
uniform
when you're in a
for-
different country.
I
You
mean,
know, when you're in
uniform for
when you're in a
Muslims.
different country, you go and you do the process of the country you're in.
Or you do your own religious groups process, like the Jews do in the UK, like with no problems.
Well, I mean, the Jews are following the law. The law says that they can.
And how? Because they campaigned to get their marriage rights recognized in the UK. They didn't. They weren't always, and that's
Okay.
currently the process in the UK. I don't
Yeah.
really know what the argument is against doing it. It worked for Jews. It will work for Muslims.
Let's see. I'd like to hear their arguments. I mean,
Okay.
But yeah,
well,
as far-
spent
as
a
far
lot
as
of time kind of like circling the drain on that thing that you didn't even
well, I
have
think
any
it
evidence
was
for it being
stemmed
an issue, but-
it was stemmed from the issue of multiculturalism, right? And again, I'll make the argument again, right? There is enough of a problem with Islam where even if it's only 10%, that's a big problem, and it doesn't it's not compatible with Western values, right? So if you only have 10% of these people who are like, I want to follow the Quran to the letter, right? Then you have Iraq, right, which is marry 9-year-olds and stone women to death and what have you. They're following Sharia law to the letter, right? But then you want to bring that system and into a civilized nation and say we're going to have our own
find my
courts where we
MisfitPatriot
can
videos, man.
follow Sharia, where we can get counsel on Sharia law, but we want to separate it from the system that's in place here in this country. But then we also simultaneously want that system to accept our laws into their legal framework. It seems like they want their cake and they want to eat it too.
No, it wouldn't be getting accepted. It wouldn't just be getting accepted. So the state would have input, and the standards would be getting set by the state as well. So if there is, for example, one weird underground sheikh who wants to do something that might not be aligned with the Equalities Act, they wouldn't be able to, because the state would be regulating and making sure that everything is within the law of the country, and that would be the legal standard for Islamic marriage. But it seems to me that they want to do that. They want to have their marriages conducted in a way that is compatible with the country's laws, and the standard is set uniformly. So yeah, it's maybe weird to you because it's maybe going against your theory. But again, if the Sharia councils are not a good example, then because you can't show me any tangible outcomes that are a problem here, what is the tangible outcome? Like you're talking about Muslims wanting to bring their culture and impose it on the UK or whatever else. Are they? Who do they? Muslims in this country mostly vote left, right? They vote center left.
I would think they would.
Like liberal center left, not socialist communist.
Well, yeah, explain the difference at this point. Most of our
They don't want
left-leaning
state
politicians are basically embracing socialism, but
How?
the leader of the largest city in America is a democratic socialist.
I'm talking about the UK. I'm talking about.
I know, but
the Labour
I
Party,
was
the
talking
center
about
left.
Yeah, but I thought you said that Muslims in America. I might have misheard you. But yeah, no, in America we have this problem. I might have misheard you. I thought that you were saying America, but yeah, in the UK, if Muslims are voting left, there's can't remember the guy's name, but he was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood who was talking about how they love leftists, right? Because leftists are useful idiots, where they are able to manipulate them into accepting their ideologies, and they use that idiocracy to expand into other nations and change the laws of the land, which is exactly what my argument has been. You're talking about bringing in a culture that is incompatible with the Western civilization of the place that it's being imposed. Right? It's like why don't they make their countries better? That's my number one question, right? So like if you go to a heavily Sharia practicing nation, it is always a horrible place to live. Nobody vacations in Iraq. So if you're talking about embracing that same failed ideology and that failed legal framework, then you're just inviting potential for failure. That's my argument.
Okay, so the leftists that the Muslims vote for in the UK as well, I guess they're the useful idiots. So which law is there any single law in the UK that we have changed to accommodate Muslims in a way that's incompatible with Western liberal democracy?
I think I said this in my opening. It's a weird debate to have with me because I don't know anything about your laws as far as not the specifics, right? I just know the news stories, the general consensus based off of what we view in America as a cautionary tale because of the, if you look at let's say the free speech, and I know that you guys have never really had it, but we look at the stories of people being arrested. I think thousands of people have been arrested over social media posts. And I know that that's not completely related to immigration, but many of them are being arrested because of anti-Muslim rhetoric that's being posted online. I mean, look at Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson's case was just like tossed out because of the overreach from the government trying to say that you know, he was. I guess I don't even know what the actual charges were, but
you've got literally no idea what it is, calling it overreach, dude. I'm just amazed.
Of what he was saying online about Muslims. They said he lied about some kid and blah blah blah.
No, that one he actually was proven wrong on. That one he's actually, dude.
Defamed someone and he got sued.
Well, according to the verdict.
I don't know.
Well, didn't that just get tossed out?
No, that's a different case.
No, he was convicted of this ages ago. He had to pay the fine.
What was the new case about?
I don't know what the new case was about, but you realize that Tommy Robinson...
It was stemmed from that one. It was.
No, it might have been stemming from that one, but you understand that Tommy Robinson has pled guilty to multiple crimes in the UK.
Yeah.
He's pled guilty to assaulting a police officer. He's pled guilty to defamation. He pled guilty to contempt of court. What do you want? Like, Tommy Robinson's a criminal. He commits crimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, they say the same thing about Trump here. They're like, oh, he's a felon. It's like, okay, I don't care. It's like,
wait, has Tommy Robinson
you don't care when white people
not pled guilty to crimes and gone to jail for it after pleading guilty?
Well, I don't know. I know that he fought that case and he was put in jail, but I think that based on the new verdict that was just dropped, where it threw everything out, was based on when he got out of jail. He was saying the same thing. So I don't know the details of the plea, but if he did plead guilty or something to defamation, I mean, isn't that a civil matter? It's a civil matter in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't make him a criminal. That makes him civilly liable.
He was a criminal because he engaged in contempt of court and because he assaulted a police officer.
Exactly.
He has other ones as well.
It looks like the most recent case, November 2025, was for refusing police access to his phone during the July 2024 border stop. And it had to do with he was found not guilty of a terror offense. So it has to do with counterterrorism concepts. So it looks like they came in with kind of maybe some new.
Yeah, these are speech laws. So you said that he was like, oh, the crime that he committed was not.
It wasn't about his speech. It wasn't about his speech. It was because he's leaving the fucking country with like a huge amount of cash, dude.
That he said something that would just be a civil offense, but then he refused to admit that he did something wrong with his speech, and then they criminalized it. They gave him contempt of court charges. If it all stems from the speech thing, then you just made him a criminal based off of words he said.
Wait, that's not what the contempt of court charge was for. It wasn't for that. Well, like a catch-22. No, that's not what happened. The contempt of court happened because he broke a law.
It broke a law based on the speech case that he was in.
No, it was a separate thing. That was to do with the Grooming Gang trial, where he was filming himself in front of the court steps and screaming at defendants, which you're not supposed to do in the UK. That's why he was never convicted.
What I'm saying is, we look at it in America. We look at the UK as a cautionary tale of what happens when you start imposing free speech laws and you start having mass migration. And like, let's put Tommy Robinson aside. There are people that are being arrested and thrown in jail for anti-Muslim rhetoric on social media. And when we see that in America, we go, yeah, we better never do this shit. And
what they say,
might not be directly related to the immigration, there is definitely like a causality of, okay, we have
because he's just pointing Sarah Connolly again, or Lucy Connolly, sorry, not Sarah Connolly, Lucy Connolly again. She didn't just spread anti-Muslim rhetoric. She said she wanted people to burn down an asylum hotel, and then they went and did it.
Way more Muslims in here now because of immigration, and they feel like they need to be protected. So we have to create a law that says you can't say anything anti-Muslim online or we'll arrest you. So it's kind of related.
Which law have we created for that?
Well, you have hate speech laws against
were hate speech laws created for Muslims?
No, they are being applied for Muslims, right? Because you have UK citizens who are saying what I'm saying. Islam is incompatible with the West. They might even say, even meaner things than that. But then your government is...
Yeah, is anyone who's been convicted of saying Islam's incompatible with the West? Who's been convicted for that? Name one person.
Throwing them in jail. And that's because of multiculturalism, right? It's because there's a separate set of rules for a certain group where if you say mean words about them, you'll be arrested, right? That's the cautionary tale.
So...
And multiculturalism is a result of mass migration, which is
you're going to need to give, first of all, the stirring up hatred offenses they're quite old in the UK. Just to give you some stats, between 2006 and 2016, a time when we had quite a lot of Muslims in this country, there were 9 cases involving charges for this crime. More recently, and I think the biggest victims of this crime in terms of reporting and conviction are Jews, not Muslims. It was something like 50 in a year. So.
Last stats I looked at, it was something around 1,000 total arrests under the hate speech laws. Now, this could be for Muslims, it could be for something else. My point is, and when you embrace multiculturalism and you have laws in your country that are labeled hate speech laws,
it's just like patched together like fucking buzzwords he's heard from other people talking about this. It's so fucking shameful that this guy like will never realize how fucking stupid he is, dude.
Because there's multiculturalism that they don't agree with, so they're saying things about the other culture and being thrown in jail for it, right? So mass migration contributes to that. That's common sense.
So people are getting arrested for saying Islam is incompatible with Western values?
I can look up specific cases.
These days,
well, at least I need a specific case, because
these days,
I guarantee you it is not that easy to get arrested and jailed for speech in the UK. We don't have First Amendment, but we do not have it to the point where we're just making new laws
just
to
for saying
accommodate the sensitivities of Muslims.
Just for saying you're English.
All right, UK. I'm just going to type in arrest for hate speech, anti-Muslim in the UK. Let's see here.
One
example here.
In July 2025. I'm sorry. Recent arrests. Hamid Koskan, the Quran burning case. Okay, the Turkish guy. I think it was just this year. He burned a Quran outside of the Turkish consulate, shouting anti-Islam slogans, and he was charged under Public Order Act Section 4A for intentional harassment, alarm, distress, motivated by religious hatred. Convicted in June of 2025. Then there's the unnamed CPS distress to Islam charges. And there's a few more here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but what I'm saying is it does happen.
I pulled up the UK police have made numerous arrests for anti-Muslim hate speech and related offenses, particularly in the aftermath of significant public events like in August 2024 riots, which led to over 1,000 arrests related to anti-Muslim unrest. Many individuals have been charged and sentenced, especially for posts made on social media.
That's the one I looked up.
Yeah, so what did they say? So what did they say, FTM? What did they say?
Arrests related to that one incident. So if you're saying
that's like total arrest, okay.
You think that multiculturalism mass migration does not increase multiculturalism, which leads to people being arrested for hate speech based off of the opposing culture. You have that story right there where it's like over 1,000 people have been arrested for anti-Islam rhetoric in the UK.
So I'm just making sure we don't get things muddied here. So for one, usually when you see these cases, and I don't agree with all of them, we can go into the free speech argument if you want, but going for a lot of these cases, you can find someone who is convicted of social media posts or whatever, stirring up hatred, but then you can look at what these social media posts were. There was one from a few years ago where a guy was on social media, but his posts were him saying, go kill the Muslims, and then distributing terrorist manuals. Okay, I think that would even probably pass the Brandenburg test. There are some forms of speech that even in the United States you can get in trouble for with the law, right? If you're engaged in incitement. Now, when it comes to the UK, you're saying that there are people being arrested under Public Order Act for Quran burning, which I don't agree with. I like First Amendment. I think we should have it.
Sure.
One question: who passed the Public Order Act? When's that come from?
Well, no, look, I'm sure that you guys I'm sure that they made a
Also, that Quran burning thing, I keep seeing Chad cover that, and it does annoy me because there is a little bit being missed out. There's a little bit being missed out when people talk about that, which is that the Quran, it's not about burning the Quran. It's about burning the Quran in front of the Turkish consulate. That's the specific thing that's at issue, is walking up to the Turkish consulate and burning the Quran. Now, I think you should be able to stand outside the Turkish consulate and burn the Quran. I think that's reasonable. But it ain't fucking blasphemy laws. It's not about the burning of the Quran. It is about specific antagonism towards, like, places of office of foreign countries along the lines of religion. Like, going and doing shit like that to these offices. They probably don't want that happening. It's not about the fucking blasphemy laws. It's about going and fucking antagonizing embassies. I think you should be able to do it. I think that you should be able to antagonize an embassy like that. But it's obviously not a fucking blasphemy law. It's not about, oh, protect the Muslims. We gotta protect the Muslims. It's about you going up to fucking embassies and causing problems.
Case for why that person was in violation of the law. I'm not saying that they aren't in violation of your laws. I'm saying your laws are going to
I know,
create
the laws are a problem. Yeah, there's a problem with laws, but who passed the laws?
I don't know. I don't follow your...
The laws were passed by conservatives. They were passed by majority white conservatives. And again, this goes way beyond Muslim immigration. We've had blasphemy laws and laws against sectarian songs being sung on buses and in public ever since the 1800s. Okay, we've had laws about communicating offensive material in the post, like by sending letters to people that have offensive material in it, and that's been illegal since like 1880. And most of these laws, like Public Order Act and the obscenity laws and the offense material that goes with that, dates back to these very old laws. So
I'm not arguing. I'm not
make
arguing the legality.
Well, you're arguing that multiculturalism caused this. Multiculturalism
saying it adds to
our
it.
politicians to be shitty about speech. If you want a First Amendment, make the argument for having that in the country. Probably a lot of Muslims would agree with that, because Muslims get in trouble with the law as well for speech. Like people who do Palestine protests get in trouble for sometimes doing things that might be incitement, other things that is definitely not incitement. So if you want to make a free speech argument, yes, but we don't need Muslims out of the country to have better free speech laws. The people who passed these laws were passing it when this country was 99% white.
Hold on. The debate prompt is illegal immigration, or is it illegal immigration or immigration? I can't remember what the prompt
Does
is.
immigration
Does immigration? Okay. So the debate prompt is, does immigration pose a threat to the UK? I am telling you why. When you allow mass immigration and create an environment of multiculturalism in a society that has hate speech laws, that is going to increase the amount of people that were there being arrested for said hate speech laws, which is a threat to the people of the UK. They are no longer allowed, and you'd argue that they were never allowed to exercise their beliefs that you should not bring in a different culture that they don't agree with.
Okay, so the threat is that if immigrants come into the country, the threat is that laws that existed for over 100 years before the immigrants came here might be applied to people
that aren't part of that country and aren't part of that culture. That means that the culture that is being immigrated in is a threat to the people that are there.
Why not just change the law? Why not just change the free speech laws?
I think you should, but what I'm saying is,
we need immigrants out of the country to do that.
Under the debate prompt, I'm telling you the threat versus what you like.
It makes no sense. He's totally incoherent, bro. There's no link here.
The threat that immigration poses is when you embrace multiculturalism in a society that has one culture, you input a whole bunch of other people from a different culture, and then the people complain about it. They're getting arrested for it. Those people are UK citizens. That's a threat to the UK. This is not up for debate. They are being arrested.
It's like saying we should have stopped Irish immigration to the UK because some people might get falsely accused of sectarian violence and they might go to jail. No, well, fix the laws, man. Come on. That's not a serious argument. What are you talking about?
Under the current laws, the embrace of mass immigration is a threat to the people of the UK, considering they are being arrested for criticizing the culture that is being imported.
Okay, quick question. Were those laws a threat to people before any of the immigrants came?
The laws were in place, yes. But
okay,
if you
so the laws are a threat regardless.
If you take away the mass migration, those people aren't going to be complaining about the mass migration that doesn't exist. Therefore, they won't be being arrested.
Yeah, but the laws shouldn't be there in the first place. The risk is the laws. The risk isn't the immigrants, dude. That's the point. You fucking idiot.
For criticizing it.
That is a very weak excuse to try and stop migration. It's like, yeah, if Irish immigrants hadn't come to the UK, then some people wouldn't have been victims of sectarian violence. But that's not usually a good reason to...
Like, literally, dude, the biggest issues with these laws are not fucking Lucy Connolly getting charged and being an idiot and pleading guilty. Her own fault. Her own fault. Sure, she might not give the best legal advice, whatever. Pleading guilty. Her own fucking fault. Her own decision. Not even close to the worst issues with the speech shit. When Joey Barton is getting fucking convicted for, what, saying that Jeremy Vine's a bike nonce. And that fucking Aluko should said to tick boxes. Boo fucking who? The immigration shit is not even close to the worst part of this. It's got nothing to do with that.
I'm just telling you the threats.
To the country.
I'm telling you the threats that multiculturalism imposes. You don't agree with them, but they are threats. They're threats to the people who live there currently.
Yeah, basically Lucy Connolly kind of got a raw deal because she got swept up in the super hard response they were having towards the riots at the time, and obviously it didn't discriminate between the types of offence, so even people that were in for tweets were getting treated harshly. And then ended up getting bad legal advice that resulted in her pleading guilty and being in prison for longer than she should have, or like something, because she's a mom or whatever and she wouldn't usually have been in prison for that long or for that level of offence because of the risk to the children. But ultimately, it comes down to her pleading guilty. It ultimately comes down to her pleading guilty.
And
so that's a bike
they're essentially having to pander to a different group of people that is being imported en masse over a short period of time. They're exercising their contempt for that. They go, hey, we don't want this. And then they're being arrested. That's a threat to the UK if I've ever heard one. So you might not like it, but that is a threat.
Do you think like people coming out as gay is a threat to straight people in the UK? Because some people probably got arrested or falsely accused of hate speech against gays when there were more gays around in the country.
I mean, you could make the same argument, right? Like if you were to have a society that's like a heavily Christian nation, and you tried to import a entire group of like let's say gays, right? And then the Christians were opposing their like they were criticizing that. They were like, we don't want this. And then you started arresting the Christians. That would be a threat to the Christian nation that you just imported all of those people to.
And is that a good reason to stop people from coming out for being gay?
I didn't say it was. I'm saying that if you're asking what is the threat is you have a culture that is being punished for the new culture being brought in.
And do you think that's a good reason? So if that's not a good reason to stop people from coming out from being gay, because it just means you would have to change the laws, do you think that that reason you gave is a good reason to stop Muslim immigrants from coming to the UK?
Well, I think that it's a false equivalency, right, to compare Muslims to gay people, because there isn't a significant portion of gay people who are practicing a religious belief that is essentially incompatible with Western civilization. But you could make an argument, if you wanted to give it more of an equivalency, if you had a Christian nation that wanted to remain a Christian nation and they did not want to embrace multiculturalism, and then you tried to inject a bunch of gay people into it, I would say that that Christian nation does have a right to hold on to their values and say, no, we don't want this. That does not mean that doesn't mean I hate gay people. That doesn't mean
you obviously have a right as a democracy, you have a right to vote for whatever you want. You're arguing about the effects of those policies, you fucking idiot.
Anything about my opinions. I'm saying when you have a new culture brought in to an area that does not align with the values of people in that area, that would be a threat to the area, which is what the debate prompt is.
If you're okay, so you're not. Are you trying to make the argument though that we should stop Muslim immigration to the UK? Do you believe that?
Yes, but it's
what about immigration as a whole?
No, but that's because of Islam, not because of it's not because of like if you wanted to do a legal immigration process for Muslims, that would be fine.
I think we finally have the FTM Patriot field sobriety test.
Hey, Mr. Zachary.
How you doing, sir?
What's going on? If you could step out of the vehicle for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. You can just leave the keys in there. That's fine. Leave it running.
Keep it on?
Yep. Alright. I'm going to stand over here, alright? Stand right here in front of this vehicle for me real quick. I'm just going to frisk you real quick because I'm going to be talking to you pretty close and personal. Face that vehicle. You can put your hands behind your back. Do you have any weapons on you? Any knives or anything like that? Okay. Sure. That's a vape? Yeah. Okay. Put your...
Oh, man.
Should I frisk your right side? No, I'll frisk your left side, okay? Is this your... Okay.
You have the right to remain a woman, this FTM Patriot.
You don't have a pocket knife?
No, sir.
Alright. You in the military?
No, sir.
Okay.
Brother, Force Recon.
Okay. Here, you can turn around, relax. So I'm just going to ask you some questions. Some of these questions may be redundant. Some of the officer may have already asked you. I just kind of have to paint a better picture, get a better idea, okay? So, yep, we can go down there. Okay. What's that?
You want me to follow you?
Yeah, come down here, Mr. Zachary.
Okay, so that's the start. And then we got some questioning.
So, where are you coming from?
I just came from, I don't know Austin very well.
Mm-hmm.
But my buddy just came down here. I took him out. And actually, he was drinking too much, so I took him home. And I was about to go back to Fredericksburg.
Is the address that's on your driver's license current?
Well, that's actually my San Antonio address.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm staying in Fredericksburg temporarily while I work on the Allstat Brewery project. I don't know if you know Fredericksburg very well.
No. Okay. So you were driving back to Fredericksburg?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you said you're not from here. Do you come here often in Austin or no?
Well, no,
I mean,
this
do you know?
is the first time I've ever been to Austin.
Oh, okay. So you don't know. You have no idea where you're
Yes,
at
sir.
right now. Okay.
I dropped my phone in between my seat. It went under. I was trying to get directions.
Mm-hmm.
It's still
Right.
under. You can check.
Okay.
And that's why I was swerving, and I apologize.
Guys, he was just looking for he was digging around for his phone under the seat because he dropped it. That's why he was swerving all over the road. It's got nothing to do with his obscene blood alcohol content. I know you can smell booze on his breath. He's actually digging around for his phone. He was actually digging around for his phone. That's why he swerved so much. That's why he almost hit a child.
Alright. Is that your truck right there? That black truck? Okay. Without looking at your watch, could you tell me what time it is right now?
I'm assuming it's around 1.
Okay. It's 2:06 right now. You said you took your friend out. You took him out to a bar there or what?
Well, I took him out to a bar, and I just dropped him off at the Garrett Van Sant Hotel.
That's where he's staying at?
That's where he is staying at, yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all went bar hopping or what?
Yeah, we went down to whatever that strip is, 6th Street, I think it's called.
Yeah. And were you drinking when you were down there?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being not intoxicated at all and 10 being intoxicated, what do you think you're at?
4.
About a 4? Okay. How many drinks did you have whenever you were down there?
6 all night. 6.
Okay. What time? 6. What'd you drink?
I mean, I was drinking vodka, sodas, and I probably had about
Right.
4 drinks from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m.
You can drink off that. Four vodka sodas. You can drink after that. No problem.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5. Oh, maybe 5.
I did 1 shot of Jameson.
Okay.
Oh,
So you
one
said
shot
you
of
had,
Jameson's. Oh, okay.
You had vodka and what else? Was that like a mixed drink or
Just vodka
you were
soda.
just drinking? Okay. About how many of those did you have?
4 drinks from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I did 1 shot.
Yeah, basically, I'm totally fucking lit right now.
Jameson. Anything else? No beer?
No, sir.
About how big were these drinks, these vodka sodas?
I'm assuming the bartender made it 1 drink and 1 ounce.
Come in a small glass or like a tall?
Yeah, like just a regular highball.
Okay. Let's see. And you were down there. You said you went down around 7 p.m.
Yeah, I got there around 7.
Okay. That's where you had your first drink.
Yes, sir.
Oh, when did you have your last drink? Do you remember what time?
About an hour ago, yeah.
Excuse me. So about 1 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dropped my friend off at the Garrett Van Sant.
About how strong do you think those drinks were? Do you feel like they were strong, or?
I mean, I'm not gonna stipulate on how strong the bartender made the drinks, but I feel absolutely fine.
Okay. When was the last time you ate?
I had dinner with my friend before we went out. Cheeseburger around like 6:30 p.m.
You just ate a cheeseburger? Where'd y'all eat at?
Cheeseburger and fries right over on.
On 6th Street as well?
No, shoot. Right near. You know where the Garrett Van Sant is?
No, I've never been down there.
There's a little restaurant, Brantley's, something like that.
So you just had a cheeseburger?
Cheeseburger, french fries.
Okay. Did you have a drink with that, like an alcoholic beverage, or what'd you drink with your burger? Okay. All right. And you said that you were driving from where you dropped your friend off, and you were headed back to Fredericksburg right now. So that's as long as you've been driving since you came from downtown to where this officer stopped you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much do you weigh, Mr. Zachary?
205.
All right. How tall are you?
5'8".
Okay. Do you have any issues with your arms or legs?
I have sciatica.
Okay. Do you have any medical problems or physical problems?
Yeah, it's just sciatica.
Anything else besides that?
No, sir.
Do you suffer from diabetes?
No, sir.
Do you take any medications?
Okay, I think that's removed. Okay, right, let's move on to this bit. This is the real bit. This is the real shit. Here's the full field sobriety test. Oh, wait, the audio sucks on this view. We'll go to the other view.
Okay. Can you hold it? Thank you, sir. All right, so what I want you to do is put your feet together, heels and toes. Put your arms down by your side. And then you're just going to stay in this position, okay? I'm going to have a red pen in front of your face. You're just going to follow the tip of the red pen with your eyes and your eyes only. Do you understand? Okay. Alright, so tip of the red pen with your eyes and your eyes only.
Dude. He really is. This guy's locked in, bro. Oh my god. Holy shit. Do you have to do it for this long? Make him do a straight line.
Go up to this one, okay?
His fucking
Eyes and eyes
face,
only.
man.
Tip of the red pen. Same thing. Tip of the red pen.
He's wobbling.
Yep.
Sorry, officer. I know I dropped my phone.
That's, we're,
Swerving.
okay, so
He
yeah,
thinks
so
he
look,
passed.
we're gonna do these, and then I base my decision on the totality of circumstances. Okay, so it's not just one thing that we base our decisions off of. Okay. All right. So do me a favor. I want you to stand right here, and I want you to face that direction. Okay. So I'm gonna set you up for this next one. I'm going to set you up for this next one, but what I want you to do is I want you to imagine a line that's only as wide as your foot running down this sidewalk, okay? A line that's only as wide as your foot running down this sidewalk, and I want you to place your left foot on that line, okay? And then I want you to place your right foot in front of your left foot, heel to toe. So go ahead and do that for me now.
Officer, can I just tell you right now, like, I have sciatica very bad, and it has flared up in the past couple days, but I will try my hardest.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know. I can show you text messages to my boss from yesterday and today, but I will try my hardest.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you. So right foot. Nope, hold. Don't start. I'm going to set you up, okay? So left foot on that imaginary line that's only as wide as your foot. Your left foot goes on that. Your right foot in front of that, heel to toe. So go ahead and get in this position for me now. So left foot on the line, right foot in front of it, heel to toe. And then go ahead and take your hands out of your pockets and place your arms down by your side. Okay, you're going to stay in this position until I tell you to do so.
Yeah, the bargaining is just crazy, man.
Okay. Excuse me. So for this, I want you to look down at your feet. You're going to count out loud, keeping your arms down by your
man,
side.
I've got terrible hemorrhoids.
I want you to take 9 heel-to-toe steps down that imaginary line, okay? It's going to look just like this. 1, 2, 3, and all the way up to 9. When you get to 9, I want you to leave your lead foot on that line, and then using a series of small steps, I want you to...
Sorry, so I've just had bottom surgery.
Turn around, and another 9 heel-to-toe steps back down that same line. Looking down, arms down by your side, counting out loud, 9 heel-to-toe steps. 1, 2, 3, and all the way back up to 9, okay? So once you begin this, don't stop until you're completely finished, okay? So remember, you're going to be looking down at your feet, your arms and hands are going to be down by your side. You're going to be counting out loud, and you're going to do 9 heel-to-toe steps out, turn back around, 9 heel-to-toe steps back down that same line. Do you understand the instructions, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have any questions?
Don't say yes if you don't.
Okay, so go ahead and
Don't
get
say
back
yes
in that
if you
starting
don't.
position just like I showed you.
It looks worse.
Okay, so once you're in that starting position, arm down by your side. Perfect. And then remember, looking at your feet, counting out loud, arms down by your side, 9 heel-to-toe steps. You may begin whenever you're ready.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Oh no!
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay. All right. So stand right here on this light for me and face me. Kind of the same thing. I'm gonna set you up, and then you're gonna do it. Okay. So the way you're gonna stand is heels and toes together, arms straight down by your side, and then you're gonna stay in that position until I tell you to do otherwise. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, it's like this, dude. In his mind, it's like this right now. He's like this. No.
Come on.
That's it. Nice and slowly, buddy.
Oh,
That's it.
come on, buddy. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Fine, but the current system of just accepting.
Wait, fuck. Wrong.
So it's up to you. You can either raise your right foot or your left foot. But whenever you do so, I want you to look down at whatever foot that you raise, keeping your arms down by your side, counting out loud, and then you're going to have your legs straight. And then you're going to raise your foot approximately 6 inches off the ground, parallel to the ground. So after you raise your foot, you'll begin counting 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and so on until I tell you to stop counting. So go ahead and put your arms down by your side, just like this. There you go. So don't move from that position, okay? So remember, you're going to be looking down at your foot. Your hands and arms are going to be down by your side. You're going to be counting out loud. Legs are going to be straight, and it's up to you, right or left. 6 inches parallel to the ground, okay? Do you have any questions over the instructions, Mr. Zachary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You may begin whenever you're ready.
1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005.
Make sure you look down at your foot.
2007, 2008, 2009, 2010.
Arms down by your side.
2012, 2013.
Oh my God.
2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021.
This
Go ahead
is
and
shocking.
down, Mr. Zachary.
This is shocking.
Step over here in front of this vehicle for me, okay? This other officer's going to talk to you real quick.
I guess we just finish off a couple other clips from this thread. Come this far. We can see him get put in the police cruiser. See the arrest. Shit.
Hey Zach, I'm Officer Wynn. It's called coordinated breath test. We don't make a lot of it's not even listed in the form. We just have to offer it to you for our APD policy up here. Again, it's not even listed in the form. It's not good. Okay. Take a deep breath and blow like well, you can. I think it's only going to help you out. That's why we have this. If you feel like, I think I heard you say you're good to drive.
I mean, I think I'm good to drive, but and I agree I'm good to drive, but if I have 4 beers, it's over the legal limit.
Well, he doesn't use this to make it
Dude. I think I'm good to
I
drive.
just have to offer it to you. It doesn't make you personally what you do or not, but from what I saw,
Yuck,
it's
man.
totally gonna help you.
Nasty ass cop.
So deep breath and blow like a blow. Whatever you're gonna do.
Okay. All right, Mr. Zachary. So I've come to the decision. Go ahead and face the vehicle for me and place your hands behind your back. You're going to be under arrest for driving while intoxicated, okay?
Do it, man.
Face the vehicle, hands behind your back.
What's that, Home Depot? Are you sure it's okay, brother? Go ahead.
Yeah, who could have possibly seen this coming?
All right, Mr. Zachary, spread your feet for me. Is there anything out that you need out of your vehicle? Do you have you need your cell phone? You need your wallet? Anything that you'll need?
There is a legal 9mm.
All right, just go through the search, and then we'll get the.
Okay.
I'm gonna get you the cards. And we'll get you up there in the car and grab what we need.
Okay. So just keep your feet spread for me. You don't have anything. I'm gonna have to go into your pockets this time. You don't have anything that's gonna stick me, stab me, poke me, or anything like that. Okay. lift your arms up just a little bit. I gotta check your back.
Okay. There's just one bit I wanted to see as well. Yeah, him getting put in the back view.
Sit back, I'm gonna go for you. I'm gonna play this recording for you. Just follow along right here, okay? For an offense arising out of acts alleged to have been committed while you were under arrest for an offense arising out of acts alleged to have been committed while you were operating a motor vehicle in a public place or a watercraft while intoxicated, or an offense under section 106.041 Alcoholic Beverage Code. You will be asked to give a specimen of your breath and or blood. The specimen will be analyzed to determine the alcohol concentration or the presence of a controlled substance, drug, dangerous drug, or other substance in your body. If you refuse to give the specimen, that refusal may be admissible in a subsequent prosecution. Or give a specimen.
Okay, I'm just fucking heaving, feeling like shit. Awesome, man. You love to see it. You really do love to see it. Anyway, back to the debate.
Accepting them in mass is a threat. So I think that all nations should have an assimilation policy where if you go to a different country, if you want to immigrate there, you have to assimilate to the values of that land, right? Like, so America is a Christian nation. America is an English-speaking nation. I think that our immigration policy should be like, you need to, salute the flag. You don't need to be Christian, but you need to respect the Christian values of this nation, and you need to speak the language. That's an assimilation policy. So if you wanted to take in Muslims, on a case-by-case
driving a Christian value
basis who are willing to adopt the values of the society that they're going to, sure, absolutely. But as far as just a general policy of allowing any and all Muslims in, no, because there's too many that practice Sharia law. There's too many that are radical. I mean, it's just
well, we don't allow any and all Muslims into the country. Even under the recent conservative wave, there was still pretty strict policies on immigration. It's never been particularly easy to come here on a visa and start working. So in terms
I think it's up 44%. That's a pretty big number since 2014, I think was the year. So you're talking about in 10 years ish, you're talking about a 44% increase in the Muslim population. If that's a lot. Right, and that's enough to change the culture of the society they're moving to. So if you're talking about, is it a threat, then there's your answer. It is a threat. If you don't think there's anything wrong with it, well, that's not up to you. It is a threat to the nation, like the nation's values.
So, do you think that I'm guessing is it specifically Muslim immigration then that you're worried about? You care more about Muslim immigration than, say, Indians or Nigerians or Europeans?
Well, I would say that there's definitely an argument to be made for other nations that come in and do not contribute to society or assimilate, and Indians may fall into that. But I wouldn't make the argument against a country, if that makes sense, or a ethnicity. I'm only making this argument against Islam because it is a radical practice, a radical belief system that doesn't align with Western ideology. So I'm not saying Arabs, I'm saying Islamists as opposed to Indians or Nigerians. But I mean, like, if you were like, do you want to
all Muslims are Islamists, right? You know that the Muslim world and Islamism is obviously quite at odds with each other, right?
Several times in this debate, I've told you that if it's 10%, it's too many. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, so I'm guessing on those grounds, you probably think Brexit was a terrible idea then, right? Because our immigration obviously went away from Europe and towards Asia and Africa, right?
Yeah, I followed Brexit back when it was going on, and I don't really invest in politics out of other countries and really do deep dives into them. But from what I remember, there was a lot of support for Brexit, and I don't know the economic, social impact or multicultural impact of it. So
what was the referendum outcome again? Felt like everyone online was in favor of it, right? What was the referendum outcome? Oh yeah, like 51-49.
The multicultural impact was that net migration, which used to be majority European, they used to make up the majority of net migration, is now in the negative. And obviously, we're still a country that even conservatives in this country who ran on anti-immigration realized that we do actually need immigrants to support the other things that people also want in the country.
Why?
So started bringing immigrants in from Asia and Africa. So
why do you need immigrants?
Because we're a capitalist economy, for better or worse. We're a growing economy. We have an aging population. We need people to be younger, and we need people to work to fill gaps in places like the NHS, and also just in general, because if an economy is going to grow, the population needs to grow, and our local domestic population does not grow fast enough.
So, I mean, this argument is being made from a lot of people on the left here, and it's just not a solid. It has no solid footing. So I don't know.
Yeah, please explain to us, Misfit Patriot. How do you have a functioning, growing economy where your tax base is smaller than your tax burden? How does that work?
The statistics over there, but I mean, I know it says 12%. 12% of your country is non they're immigrants, right? But in America, we don't need immigrants, right? Like we don't need them in the sense where they're completely necessary. But a lot of people make that argument. They're like, "Oh, we need people to work. Nobody's gonna pick avocados." Yeah, they will. Like, there are plenty of people here who will work. So I don't know if that applies to the UK. But if that is the argument, then I would need to look at the need to look at the reasoning behind that, because from what I can tell is most nations can sustain themselves without immigration. I mean, look at what Poland is doing. Poland's allowing in like 2%, I think it is, and they're doing just fine. So they don't need immigration, and I think that they're culturally comparable to the UK. So the argument that it is necessary to bring in immigrants, I don't think it's ever really been on solid footing. You may want immigration for whatever reason, but I don't think the argument is that it is necessary.
It depends on what you mean by necessary, as in like people will probably still live. But I mean, if you want to talk about the standard of living in Poland versus the UK, forget about it. We have loads of Polish immigrants wanting to come to the UK, or we did before Brexit. Not many British people wanted to go to Poland, very unsurprisingly. As ironically said that they're culturally similar. I mean, it's like Polish immigrants were one of the top targets for anti-immigration people in this country. We're quite different from America in that regard. We are quite broadly xenophobic when it comes to different groups. We're not really a melting pot. Poland, I think their population is about 8% immigrant, but in any case, like, is it just a coincidence to you that the most successful liberal democracies in the world have immigration?
Well, I'm not an anti-immigration person. What I'm saying is, if you don't have an assimilation process for immigration, then the risks outweigh the rewards, right? I mean, like the argument in America right now is over this like H-1B thing, where H-1B, in theory, it's a very good idea to bring the best of the best and the best minds in the world to contribute to the American workplace. But it's being abused, and a lot of these people are just like clerks that are being brought in here that we don't need those people. So yes, I think that when you have an immigration system that is beneficial, and I would say rare or small, it is a benefit. But mass migration is what we're talking about. Mass migration, I don't think ever helps the country that it is imposed in, especially like in today's modern era, because there's so many multiculturalism that it doesn't really jive. As far as Poland, it looks like, I'm just reading. This is just Grok, so I mean, but it says it's one of Europe's fastest growing GDP has roughly doubled since 2005, driven by foreign investments, exports. There are challenges like healthcare access and regional disparities, but it would be placed in the development index as very high. So, I mean, I don't know where you're getting your stats for Poland being like a bad place to live.
I mean, Poland's not. I'm not saying Poland's a bad place to live. I'm just saying that compared to the UK in terms of standards of living, we absolutely annihilate Poland. Like, that's the reason that when we had the European Union, lots of Polish people came to the UK. Very few British people went to Poland. That's not surprising. And in terms of standards of immigration,
rebuttal where?
And I'm guessing you sound like you'd be perfectly okay with the Labour Party's policies, because you have to earn quite a lot to get a visa working in the UK now under his policies. The English standard, that's actually been increased. You have to be able to speak a reasonable level of English to immigrate to the UK.
It's just like,
I think the only exception that we make now, it used to be care workers and healthcare.
But so many of these debates there's just like very few good arguments for being like super anti-immigration. You just sound like a fucking retard when you try and explain it. You start spurging out going, oh, but the Muslims do Sharia. The Muslims do Sharia. You just start saying shit like that.
They're taking away from care workers as well. Everything else is higher income, like high skill. So dependence, that's come down as well. It's a lot harder for students to bring their wives and kids over to the country when they immigrate.
So you're saying that in the UK, you have to speak English to be an immigrant?
So there used to be a particular standard until just this year, and it's been increased. There used to be a fairly low standard. It's just gone up recently.
So just this year.
Yeah, but you still had to have like there was a minimum. It's just been increased.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that my argument is if you embrace multiculturalism and put in a lot of people, I think 12 to 13% is a lot of people into a nation, especially over such a short period of time. When you increase the immigration by, or sorry, not this, I'm confusing statistics, but when you increase the immigration by, I think was 44% over 10 years, you're going to create problems in that nation. I would say that that's mostly common sense as far as multiculturalism goes. But then my other argument was to look up the statistics of crime, and I think that the rape statistics are very problematic. I mean, 452% increase since 2002 is
again,
not,
but you cannot demonstrate how that's attributable to the immigrant population. That's because we're much more politically correct now. We're much more woke about issues with sexual violence. It's much easier to speak up about it now than it was 20 years ago.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much made all my arguments, man. But I mean, I don't think I've changed your mind. I don't think you changed my mind. But
well, I'm just curious what you like. So you keep on appealing to things like values and ideology and incompatibility, but I'm just wondering, what are the overwhelming majority of Muslims in the UK, what are they doing that's incompatible with British values? Like, what's their day-to-day life like that makes it difficult for them to coexist with us in this country?
Well, you keep going back to the majority. I've already conceded that the majority of Muslims are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with being a Muslim, right? But if you are looking at the statistics of how many Muslims, which follow a religious doctrine of, some form of Sharia law, those Muslims cannot be integrated into society. And since there's no real way to separate them, and knowing that you guys are already imposing Sharia councils in your country.
They're not imposing them; they're voluntary.
Already been totally raped on this, and he still keeps saying it.
There are Sharia councils in your country, right? I think that common sense would tell you a Sharia council means that they follow Sharia law, and Sharia law being normalized in a Western society is a threat to the society.
Yes, I understand that if you say the scary word and don't ask any questions or elaborate, then it sounds scary. Yeah,
well,
but when
what's
you look
not
at what
scary
they
about
actually
Sharia
do,
law?
it's I guess the Sharia councils in the UK don't seem that scary because they haven't done anything that you've been able to demonstrate that's a problem.
The demonstration is in the name. That's
So exactly what Lonerbox just said then. If you say the scary word without elaboration, then yeah, it can sound scary. So yes, exactly what Lonerbox just said.
Okay, well, yes, they have all else equal, they have a scary name, but apart from that, it's fine. Yeah,
they have a scary name that it suggests that they practice a scary law. That's like if I was to say like there was a fucking terrorist council. Dude,
rapeseed oil's got a pretty scary name, don't you think? Like that implies some pretty trolling things. I don't know about this rapeseed oil stuff, guys. That might be a threat to society.
In the UK, you'd be like, that's scary. Yeah, it's a scary name. Is it a terrorist? I don't know. Why did they name it that?
If the terrorist council existed for like 20 years and not a single terrorist
they're growing rapes now. They're growing rapes now. They got seeds for rapes.
Because terrorist obviously is very specific.
Do you know what the number? Do you know what the number?
I wonder the rates going
on. Terrorist group, like terrorist ideology, is in the world 66,000 terrorist events recorded since in the past like 50 years. It's Islam, dude. They're fucking dominating on terrorism. So when you say I want to normalize a Sharia practice in my country, by saying, well, it's just a name, it's just a Sharia council. I think most people, I think that most people are going, yeah, maybe not. So.
Listen,
you might not look at it as a problem. I think most people do.
Listen, maybe it's my colonial mindset coming in, but I think British people are intelligent enough to notice that just because it says Sharia, which is a very broad term, can be applying to anything from people doing suicide bombings and teaching a bunch of people that's okay, or it can also mean how you manage your marriage, and it can also mean how you engage in lending practices or how you do inheritance. And I think if it's the latter, it's probably less of an issue, probably not really that much of a problem.
I think a lot of people assume that Sharia is like a charcuterie board where you can just pick out the parts that you like. No, that would be the Muslim faith. Islam religion. And Sharia, they have to follow it very strictly because it's the law. It's like if they're practicing Sharia, they're practicing all of Sharia. They're not practicing some of it.
Okay, well, I have lived in a Muslim country. I've been to Muslim countries. I've been to Muslim majority neighborhoods and spoken to many people.
Lived in a Sharia country?
Yes, I've lived in the Emirates. Yeah.
Well, the UAE is that's like Sharia light. So you do have a good argument there.
So you can have Sharia and then Sharia light, and then could you maybe have like Sharia councils that exist in Britain that are totally neutered and have no actual legal authority? I hate this guy.
Well, I thought you followed all the laws. If
Well,
you
they do. I mean, you can still be stoned to death. I mean, the rape statistics in the UAE they're so low because women won't report them because they fear being stoned to death. There's a lot of consolidation in, like, the major cities where it's like, oh, they're tourist centers, and then so they're really sort of loose and relaxed on some of their enforcement. But then if you go to the outskirts, it's pretty much the same thing as it is everywhere else. It's like I said, it's Sharia law is not something to be taken lightly, and the places that practice it, religiously, like Iraq, that's a place that I'm sure that you wouldn't want to live.
So there's a lot.
I'm just saying, don't flirt with it.
There's a lot of reasons. Okay, as far as flirting with it goes, as I was about to finish my sentence, I'm still yet to meet a Muslim ever who has said that they practice Sharia law that practices all of it, including all of the 7th century shit. Maybe they're all just kind of like a little bit idiosyncratic, or maybe it's just that's how it works. But I mean, as far like, so really, like, in the UK, remember, Sharia courts are voluntary. But when you're saying if it gets to the point of them recognizing marriage councils, or like recognizing them under the Marriage Act, that would be like a problem. So like if the state actually embraced these Sharia councils, that would be us like caving to Islam.
Yeah, I think I've been pretty clear on this. I think it's a slippery slope, and you just you don't start normalizing it. You call them something else if they're not Sharia. If they're really not Sharia, don't call them Sharia. If they are being called Sharia, they're probably Sharia. And if they're Sharia, then it's something that doesn't jive with Western values.
I'd probably rather let the people who practice the faith tell me how the faith works. But do you understand that Israel has state-funded Sharia courts, right?
In where? Tel Aviv?
In Israel proper.
In Israel proper? I mean, I don't know.
No, they do. The state funds the Sharia courts.
Okay.
Because they have.
Well, then they're stupid for that too.
Country, right?
There's a reason why they just got attacked, right? Because
they got attacked because of the Sharia.
They got attacked because
you're kind of
dude. Dude. October 7th happened because of the state-funded Sharia courts in Israel. All right, man. So you're saying that you could almost say that, like, they did it to themselves, right? You could almost say that, like, they were basically, like, asking for it because they put in this multicultural policy, right?
Proving my fucking point, right?
Hold on.
Didn't we just watch a couple of years ago a group of Muslims go in and murder and rape like 1,200 people? Like, it's like you're saying, oh, Israel has this. Oh, how'd that work out?
Well, Israel wasn't funding Gaza's Sharia courts. That's a different territory. I'm talking about within their own country. I thought that didn't actually go against them. Didn't Hamas think that the Palestinian Israelis would rise up and fight, and they didn't?
I mean, from the footage I saw, there were plenty of Palestinians that were taking part in October 7th.
Palestinian Israelis. You fucking idiot, dude. Is he even listening? Palestinian Israelis. As in Israeli citizens of Palestinian descent. Not Palestinians living in Gaza. I'm losing my mind, dude. I am losing my fucking mind with this moron, bro.
Actually go against them? Didn't Hamas think that the Palestinian Israelis would rise up and fight, and they didn't?
I mean, from the footage I saw, there were plenty of Palestinians that were taking part in October 7th.
The Israeli Palestinians, the ones who live in Israel.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly how many.
They didn't join in, even though Hamas wanted them to. Some of them were murdered by Hamas, even though, again, but Israel funds their Sharia courts.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that,
it seems like it's okay to compartmentalize these things. It's not most.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I think that if Israel has Sharia court or Sharia courts, Sharia councils, whatever the fuck you want to call them, then they have gotten way too comfortable with Islam in their country.
That's not. What do you mean you agree? Lonerbox isn't saying that.
They live right across the street from a group of radical Islamists that want to kill them, and they just suffered one of the most horrific tragedies against the Jewish people. The most horrific tragedy since the Holocaust. So, I mean, you're proving my point, not yours.
Well, you're telling me about a completely separate event that happened to the Sharia councils. Can you acknowledge that right now? October 7th had nothing to do with state-funded Sharia councils in Israel.
What I'm saying is,
it's a yes or no question.
Yes, it probably did. It probably had to do with the mindset of thinking, well, this is fine. That's probably.
I just can't, man. I can't. You're like, this isn't even worth engaging with. You can think whatever about Lonerbox, okay? This is like beneath Lonerbox to even be talking to someone like this. But it has to be done. But it has to be done. Unfortunately, it has to be done.
Probably played a part. Yes, it probably definitely played a part. Yes.
How?
Because when you don't look at Islam as a threat, you get October 7th. When you don't look at Islam as a threat, you get 9/11. Why don't people understand this? A September 10th mentality is what you're proposing. I have a September 12th mentality where I've seen enough evidence. I've seen over 66,000 terrorist attacks. I've seen all of the, the chants of death to America from certain Muslims. And you go, but it's not all of them. And I go, I know it's not all of them. It's enough of them. And then you go, oh, well, they have Sharia courts in Israel too. And I go, exactly. I go, if maybe if they had a more strict policy on no Muslims, maybe they would be better off. But I mean, that's a situational thing. They're literally surrounded on all sides. So I'm pretty sure that that's probably what went into their reasoning. But Islam in general, these Muslim countries have spread, like, if you look at a map over the past, I think it's like 70, 80 years, they just take over everywhere they go. And you're talking about normalizing this behavior in your country, thinking that's not going to happen to you until it does. So keep up your September 10th mentality all you want, dude. I'm just not built that way.
So I think
that's the mindset of the Israelis. Muslims never do anything wrong, and we've never been victim to them, and yeah, it's a religion of peace. That's what the Israelis think.
Israel and the UK both have September 12th mentalities. We did it with the prevent strategy. We did it actually even in terms of the way that we vet people. So I'm just wondering, but again, I think I need to hear what Muslims in the UK are doing that shows us that this is actually a threat.
Well, you're telling me to give you specific cases, right? I gave you the 1,000 people that have been arrested for posting
Look, it's the state that does that.
I know, but I'm giving you. Asked me for specifics. I give you, and then you keep telling me to give you more, right? You got the hate speech laws where people are arrested for anti-Islam rhetoric. You have the Sharia councils that.
So what are the Muslims doing? So what are the Muslims doing?
Okay, my proof is it's a Sharia council. Then you tell me, okay, well the rape statistics have gone up, 452% in the past 20 years, but you can't contribute that to it. You have this and you have that, and I'm like,
it's almost like you're wrong. It's almost like you're wrong, dude. It's almost like you're fucking wrong, dude. I bring a point up, and then you rebut it, and then I don't have a response. So, like, what can I do? Change your opinion, you fucking idiot? I don't... Recognize that you're wrong? Say, oh yeah, I don't really understand this, I'm probably wrong.
I don't know, I can't draw this shit in crayon for you, right? It's like, I'm asking you to use common sense. I can't... When you have a debate with somebody, and you keep telling them to prove it, and then they give you enough circumstantial evidence where you could use critical thinking, and then you ignore that, that's your own cognitive dissonance. I can't explain it anymore. Well, I mean, I can keep explaining it. I just can't understand it.
This guy is accusing Lonerbox of cognitive dissonance when he's the biggest Zolbot going, and he's sitting here saying it's Israel's own fault that October 7th happened.
You can keep saying critical thinking, but when I ask you what the Muslims are doing that indicates that they are a threat to this country, the answer I get is they do marriage in a different way, in a voluntary way that's not illegal. They hate speech laws are imposed on people, sometimes unfairly, by people who are not even Muslim, but it's by people from this country that do that. And then what was the third one? Oh, that it's more people are reporting rapes, even though Muslims, for the most Muslim groups, apart from Pakistanis, are underrepresented in rapes. They committed less per capita than the average person. So yeah,
okay, I'm gonna try to break this down.
Thinking when you're talking about it, but you're giving me 3 reasons and they're all shit.
I'm going to try to explain this to you the one final way. Okay, globally,
wow,
a median.
He's going to explain it, guys. MisfitPatriot's going to break it down for us.
4% of Muslims across surveyed regions support making Sharia the official law of the land. That's 64% out of billions of Muslims. So, what is the threat of Sharia law? Right? That's the question. And if I'm saying not all Muslims, just 64%, that's your answer. That's it. That's the answer.
Okay, if you could show me 10% of British Muslims who are trying to impose Sharia law on the UK, then I think, yeah, there's a problem there. I don't like that. But they're not doing it.
No, but okay, so you can't take the 64% statistic and apply it because I can't show you the 10% like right now.
Right.
I'm asking you to take the 64% number and use common sense and critical thinking to apply it. And you
can't just say things that have no like deductive reasoning and call it critical thinking, and then just that doesn't make it any more intelligent. You're talking about Muslim.
Okay, 12 to 18%. Central Asia, Southern Eastern Europe, right? 12 to 18% of Muslims surveyed support Sharia.
Right. If I was going to talk about the UK, why do you think immigrants leave the Muslim world to come to the UK, to a country where it's harder to practice Orthodox,
so they can conquer it and rape all the women. So they can conquer it and rape all the women, Lonerbox. because they want to conquer and rape all the women and the little girls. They're gonna molest all the little girls and they get turned trans. And then we have a whole country with FTM patriots.
About Sharia law. Why do they do that? Why do they choose here?
I have the statistic for you. In the UK, 6.5% Muslim population support for Sharia law is lower than global medians, right? But polls focus on an introduction of aspects of Sharia, and 70 to 80% of UK Muslims report regular prayer, fasting, aligning with Sharia observance, and 43% support a policy exchange, 23% support for some integration. Into 78% support integration on most issues, broad framing 49%. Younger Muslims have less supported 33%. So you said give you 10%. I'm telling you it's actually much higher than 10%.
Can you read that? When you said Sharia, do you see how the examples it gave were praying and fasting?
And I'm telling yes, okay.
Because that's what it is to most Muslims in the UK.
Let me give you the summary. Let me give you the summary, and this is based on this has pollingreport.uk. It has Al Jazeera, it has secularism.org and The Guardian as references. Summary, 64% of global Muslims back Sharia institutionally. UK figures hover at 23 to 43%, often for limited civil roles. So your argument is we're just supposed to take them at their words for this. It's only for the civil stuff.
Unless they're actually trying to do it any different, then why wouldn't you? That seems to be what most of them do.
Yeah, but enough of them don't. That's my argument.
No, where's the enough of them that aren't?
23 to 43% have a limited. 23 to 43% of UK Muslims support some form of Sharia law, right?
Which could mean praying and fasting and doing your marriage.
It could also mean blowing you up. It doesn't. Okay. It could mean both things.
But you wouldn't have a problem with the former, so we need to know what they think, don't we?
10% of British Muslims blowing people up.
Bro.
Do you see what happens? What happens is every time we go to what they're doing, you cannot show me any substantial portion of them that's doing it.
No, I'm giving you global statistics and telling you to use your fucking head and apply it to your country. Well, I'm giving you the amount of terrorist attacks under Sharia, under Islam. I'm giving you the case-by-case basis for heavily Sharia practicing. Not the case-by-case basis. I'm giving you the Iraq example versus the UAE example. Both places you can stone a woman to death, right? The really good one and the really bad one. And every time I bring that up, you go, yeah, but what if they're just doing it civilly? What if they're not? What if they actually
they show evidence that they're not?
The critical thinking coming against like a paranoia. It's just
no, but I'm saying your argument of what if can be leveled right back against you of what if. I'm telling you, just don't do it at all.
It's not, it's not about what if. It's you are saying it's happening, so show it happening. You fucking idiot.
Now let's flirt with it. Let's see. Maybe they're the good ones, right? And I'm like, maybe they're not. And I just say, don't normalize it. Don't start allowing the opening of Sharia councils. Don't start immigrating people who are part of, or at least connected to, the religious ideology that is responsible for the most terrorist attacks in the world. Don't do any of that. Go on a case-by-case basis for immigration and say that you don't come here unless you assimilate. And by the way, if your assimilation is Sharia, get the fuck out. That's my argument.
So do you think we should, these Sharia councils, which are voluntary, we should ban them in the UK?
Yes.
Okay, Devil's Advocate challenge. Under which man the ugly, beautiful, handsome goddess point?
Still on the point? What point? Still on the point? The idea of Sharia taking over. If immigration trends continue for long enough and Islam doesn't adequately integrate or reform in the ways that Christianity, Judaism, basically every other religion have with Western values, then in theory, in several generations, maybe there's enough of an extreme Muslim population in enough of the country spread out in the exact right places to flip enough seats in such a way that they can essentially get a majority government and start passing Sharia law. That's the still man, okay? That's the still man.
Liberal Western value, is that compatible with banning people from doing a voluntary?
Well, let's go with the American example. The American government has an obligation and a duty. It's pretty much their #1 duty to protect the people of this country, right? And if they see something as a threat, which a lot of Americans believe Sharia law and Islam is, they should.
And even then, we have a monarchy and we have a House of Lords, which are like huge guardrails to anything like that happening. So it wouldn't happen anyway.
So Greg Abbott just this week banned Sharia in Texas, where I live, and I'm very happy he did it. That's how you do it. You just go, no. right? And then you go, and fuck you if you don't like it.
He banned Sharia. What does that mean? He banned Sharia.
He banned all Sharia courts. There were Sharia courts getting popped up in Texas. There's a city in Dallas that wants to be a Sharia practicing independent city. He banned all of it.
In Dallas, they were trying to become a Sharia independent state with a new law. That's bullshit. But anyway,
look it up.
Them doing their so they banned people from doing their own voluntary marriage system.
Sure, yeah. I'd have to look at the specifics of the order, but as far as I'm aware, it was the any Sharia council, any Sharia law independent like entity is illegal in Texas now.
Yeah, so personally, I'm okay with freedom of religion. I don't think there's any, if a Sharia council is doing criminal actions or anything like that, then you come down at them with the laws that we already have. That is insane to say that we're talking about what's compatible with liberal values. Freedom of religion is one of the most basic liberal values. I don't know why you would forego that. And by your own admission, it's just because they're called Sharia. You cannot demonstrate anything that they were doing. As far as these Sharia courts in Texas, I'm guessing they were also non-legally binding if they existed at all.
Yeah, well, that's why he made the law. He's like, they're not legal. So you can't have a separate entity. Now, like the freedom of religion thing, people get this wrong all the time, right? Freedom of religion, it's not its own, amendment. It's not its own thing in the Constitution. It's just part of the First Amendment, which makes Congress shall make no law enacting the imposition of somebody based on their religion. Like you can't do that. But when it is superseded by the obligational duties of the government to protect the people from all threats. So you said Sharia is not a threat. It is. That's my whole argument. It is, right? And when I give you all these examples, you just say that's not proof, and I can't keep circling this and just going over it over and over and over again. If you do not think that Islam is a threat to Western civilization,
it's like so hard to tell if people like this actually even think they're making good points. Do you genuinely believe you're like making good arguments here?
Then we will never get anywhere in this argument.
Again, if we're talking about identifying threats, then there's a reason we have counterterrorism in the United Kingdom and the United States, and they actually do, for the most part, a pretty good job at foiling attacks before they happen. Every couple of months or every quarter, we get an intel report where they say, yeah, we stopped this attack here or this attack there or this thing here. I've never seen it ever. It has never pertained to Sharia councils, though. Just because Islam, once upon a time, it was mostly from Irish people. Like, just because one group has issues that's going on with them right now doesn't mean they're always going to. Same thing would happen with the Irish people. The last 200 years, most of the sectarian violence in the UK was dominated by Catholics and Protestants or Irish people.
Do you understand that Irish?
The same thing will happen with Muslims.
But Irish isn't a religious doctrine. Irish is a culture, country. It's a nation.
It was Catholics versus Protestants.
Holy fuck! Dude, I can't, man. It was a religious divide, dude. Oh.
Like, it was a religious conflict. We still have fucking football teams that are like relics of that old past.
Yes, but those were insanely violent. Yes, those were two groups fighting. They were both religious groups fighting with each other.
My fucking mind.
The actual religious doctrine wasn't you have to. It was disagreement based on ideology, like misinterpreted by both groups. But Islam has a blueprint for taking over other nations. It's pretty much in there. It's in
Christian violent. That's misinterpreting the Bible. Muslim violent. Oh, they interpret it correctly.
Their religious doctrine to expand, to impose. If you find somebody who's not a non-believer, it's their duty to try to convert them. So you're going to get a lot more conversions the more of them you let in, which is a threat to the culture of the nation that you're in. That's common sense.
Yeah, and if I see any substantial number of British Muslims doing that, that'll be a problem. But until then, it's all ifs and buts. So, okay.
Yeah, it's all ifs and buts until it's 9/11. That's what my whole argument is. But anyway, I pretty much said everything I needed to.
Till it's 9/11.
Lonerbox, any final talking points or pieces you wanted to go through?
I mean, it's fine. Like, again, I was expecting a little bit more, because I think even I could think of a few examples in the UK that might be a better example than just saying, well, the Sharia councils, they haven't done anything yet, but they have the word Sharia in them, and that could eventually mean other things, but who knows? Or there's the hate speech laws, which again have been existing in this country long before we had a substantial number of Muslims. They were passed by white people, they were passed by locals, they're enforced by locals. They can be undone by locals if the locals want to get rid of them. And as for the rape stats, again, people have been saying this for the last 10 years. They've been trying to say that Muslims have some kind of propensity to rape more often than locals. There's never been any evidence of it in this country. The crime stats are very clear on that. So I don't know, until I see actually any reason to be scared of 6.5% of the population being Muslim, then no.
With migration, is it reasonable to say that most people should or would or could assimilate to the country that they're migrating to and take on their guiding pieces and like their societal norms, cultural norms? Is that something we would accept?
Well, Lonerbox distinguish between assimilation, integration. Let's see.
Like most people do that.
It depends on which aspect you mean. So obviously, personally, I think although Keir Starmer, I think is probably quite right wing of what most people would expect him to be on immigration with what he passed. But the language requirement, I think, is a no brainer. It's a good thing that we've increased the standards for speaking English. Most people, like pretty much all of them, speak English anyway. As far as obviously obeying the laws, I don't think we should make religious exemptions for things that are not compatible with our laws that already exist. That would be insane. As far as like cultural practices, that's when people say that they should adopt British values, is always this phrase that we get. I do get a bit hazy on what they mean by British values. I think maybe one of the problems that we've had with integration is that when people talk about getting immigrants to embrace British values, is people don't know what British values are. They don't know what British values they want to impose. I think for a citizenship test, you still have to swear loyalty to the monarch, right? I don't know why that's a given that like republicanism is also a very Western ideal. Like not wanting a monarchy at all is a Western liberal idea. The fact that so much of the British history they have to learn is about Tudors and kings and queens that even I don't know anything about, and I'm really into history. So I think we could probably start getting more to grips with what liberal values or what Western values we want immigrants to be subscribing to beyond the legal ones, but I never hear a good answer for that. So that's something that definitely needs to be worked on, I think, if we're going to do
that. Okay. If you guys would like, we could go ahead and close down. Lonerbox, I'll leave it to you for your closing statement.
Nothing from FTM there.
Yeah,
got absolutely
again,
nothing.
I'm happy to concede that there are some challenges that come with immigration, although having seen the way that countries that are of a similar economy or standard to the UK or that kind of standing in the world, it seems that whenever they reject immigration, their economy pays for it, whether it's with Japan and their quite horrible working day lifestyle, the relations with bosses and workers, and with the amount of debt that they've had to accrue to pay for the fact that they can't support their aging population, which means that any kind of financial shock that comes is going to bring them into a total collapse. When it comes to the UK and the challenges that we've had challenges with immigration before. When Irish people came over to this country, there was quite a lot of violence. There was a lot of sectarian violence. There was a lot of religious violence. There was actually a lot of racial violence. Irish people were not considered to be the same race as us, and they came in anyway, and now barely anyone can tell the difference. This has also been the same with whether it's Indian migrants. It's even largely been the same with a lot of Muslim migrants. A lot of Muslim migrants, the more radical ones that you get, have been a recent thing, largely from second or third generation immigrants who undergo a kind of like identity crisis, and it's especially with a lot more of the middle class ones, because they don't really identify, believe it or not, they practice Sharia, but they don't identify with the complete, like by the letter, following every single step of it that their parents did. But then they also don't really identify with local culture because they feel excluded from it. Because again, the United Kingdom, we've had xenophobia all the way throughout our history of immigration. It's always been a problem. It's always meant that this relation between locals and immigrants has always been quite dicey, and that is something we need to work on, because I do believe in having common liberal values to a degree. Obviously, people should be able to think and say what they want, but the problem is that I don't think any government has ever given a good answer as to what those values should be and what we should be looking out for, besides the obvious things like, does this person have terrorist proclivities or whatever else, which the vetting...
Okay, I don't care about closing statement. Closing statements suck. We're done with this now. Closing statements always suck, man. They suck on everything.